Hey, I'm going to start this off with Johnny, who's the other half of this channel, is incredibly sick, but he is bummed he can't be there because he's the one that got me into the Wonder Years. He's a huge fan, and he's sad that he can't be here to hang out. So
Poor dude, what's he got? What's he sick with?
he's very old. No, I don't know. He's got like the flu or something, but he is very old as well. So it's a combination.
Yeah. Yeah, just knee replacement, hip replacement.
Yes, yeah. He's just going through the mid 90s flu, so that's
I get
okay.
it.
It's all right. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's just about getting on dinner time here. I know it's early for you guys.
Yeah.
Um, so everything's good that we just got back from the UK like under a week ago, a couple days ago.
Oh, fresh.
And
How was the tour?
it's great. It was really good. It was us one step closer and neck deep, and it was
Oh,
all awesome. Like
what a
really fun the whole way through.
combination. Yeah. Hell
Yeah, really
yeah.
good tour. It was the so if I don't know how like inside baseball these terms are, right? But like, not really, right? When you say like support tour, it
Yep.
just means you're not headlining, right? So like usually the headliner is who picks the acts that come out and they try to curate a tour or whatever. The last time that we did a support tour at all was 2016. The last time we did one in the States was 2013. So like it has been kind of a long time coming, and we really appreciated the opportunity.
Is that a conscious decision on your behalf to kind of only focus on headline stuff, or is that just the way the tour's offers came through?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's both conscious and unconscious on our part. Like I the one thing about like support tours is like somebody else is in charge. And like
Yeah.
I really have a problem with that. Like by not on purpose. I just,
Okay.
like I am a punk by nature. I don't like anyone else being in charge of me. I don't like any sort of like authoritarian figure telling me what to
Yeah.
do.
Okay.
And at the same time also like I like to be the one that makes the decisions. I like to be in charge of things. I like to be in control of things. It's where my anxiety feels the best. So I think that's definitely got something to do with it. But then also like, people got to ask if we'll come out with,
True.
we weren't getting a lot of asks.
Okay. Well, yeah, maybe that's because the position you kind of put yourselves in, maybe people felt like, well, they don't want to come out
It's
with
a
us
tough
because they're gonna do their
spot.
own thing. Yeah. Okay, talk to me.
I think we gave that impression for a long
Sure.
time.
He's too punk for us. We can't have him. He's a trouble
Or
starter.
just like those guys seem grumpy.
Yeah. You don't give off that vibe. The smile's too genuine. I don't think that
Oh,
gets it
good.
all. Okay, so we're gonna bring down the curtain a little bit and let people in. Talk to me about like how you guys pick tour managers and stuff like that. Then how do you go if you're like a bit of a anti what that's the term I'm looking for there. You don't like anti-authority person. I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you go letting someone be in charge of running that? Because when you're the front man of the band, you're doing the music, you're playing every night. You have to have someone there that's keeping the wheels turning. How do you let
Yeah.
that
So
person?
we basically pick our friends.
Cool.
That's just how it's been. Like it's really collaborative, like basically all the way down. Like our manager is our friend. Like I like technically like co-manage the band.
Yeah.
Our bass player is really involved in that as well. And like we're just kind of like in the weeds on like every little decision usually. Um, Most of the time our tour manager is our friend Andy, who also does front of house. He also runs a studio. He like engineered a bunch on our last record and for some singles we've done. Like just a Philly dude through and through, a guy we've known for a long time. Used to tour with that band Balance and Composure. Now he mostly does us and that band Soccer Mommy. Um,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, so like we just try to like pick our homies and
Sure.
so and like make decisions together. Like we kind of treat everybody like we're on the same level and make decisions that are good for kind of everybody, band and crew, and everybody together.
Does that take away at all from the experience, or I mean, you guys have been doing this since like 2005, I want to say.
Yeah, the band started in '05. I would say like band started in '05. We did our first like longer than a weekend tour in like '07. For the
Okay.
first like full year it was like a total joke, and then it was like a kind of joke, and then
Yeah.
it kind of transferred out of joke and into like real between like '08 and 2010, and then from
Okay.
there it's just been the only thing we've ever done.
Okay, so you've got 15, come up on 20 years of experience doing this. Is that something that you enjoy, the business side of the band and running those things and making the decisions, or is it just something that has to be done and you don't trust anyone else, so you'll just do it yourself?
Um, I think it's a little bit of both. I think I am like obsessive and meticulous and like so sometimes like I don't my brain doesn't really give me a choice.
Sure,
But also like I really I really like math. Um, like I like figuring out like one of my favorite things to do is like I've been really obsessed recently with figuring out merch orders
sure.
and figuring out how to like limit waste. Because like the worst thing for me is like, do you think about how much water and energy and carbon emission goes into like creating a t-shirt, right? How much does it suck if that t-shirt just rots in a warehouse?
Yeah.
Um, and so I spent a lot of time trying to think. And so like I built like a logistic regression out of like a training set of like past data that I pulled to try to. This is the most boring rock and roll
No,
interview of
no,
all time.
you
Uh,
punk you. You absolute wild man.
to try to like forecast sales effectively.
I feel like, you know what? I joke about that, but that is
Is anyone
very
still listening?
That's very
Is
punk.
anyone
That is very punk to be like, okay, we want to do this like the right way for us. We're not just doing this to make the money at the end of the day. We don't do it for like a wholesome thing. That's as punk as it comes. Sure, it's nerdy as shit, but I appreciate it. And I think there's like that shows integrity in what you're doing. It's just maybe not the
Yeah.
most riveting thing to talk about, but that's okay.
No, and I just like I like math because it works and then there's an answer and it's like clean and clear. It's like
Yeah.
there's like justice in math.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy of mine. I own a online training business as well. Fitness is like my other thing that I do. And I was talking with him the other day, and he's like,
And wait, if that's the case, why don't you have any muscles?
"Well, I'm working on them. One day I will
Is
get."
this on video? Are people gonna get that joke?
They are going to get that. Yeah. The joke is the
Okay.
fact that I don't own t-shirts with sleeves because I don't fit anything. So it's fine. My mate who I train with all the time, he messaged me and it was like the most mundane thing. He's like, I just fucking love maths. I love that you eat more calories and you put on more weight, and you eat less calories and you lose weight. And I was like, to anyone that reads this, it reads like such a dumb, nerdy thing, but I relate to it so hard because the maths, it makes sense. You
Yeah.
do the thing, and then that's the equation, and that makes sense. So maybe that's it.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
I'm
cool.
actually a math nerd too. I'm just hiding in a jock's body.
Maybe. Maybe. Maybe I'm a math nerd hiding in a punk guy.
Yeah, well, we could be friends then. I like that. So talk to me about headlining tours non-stop then. If you guys are managing, is every support you guys pick based on your suggestions? Are you meticulous about that sort of lineup too? Because that does play a big part of touring, is picking who you're playing with.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And we are. We'll take suggestions, right? Like agents or managers, labels would be like, hey, this band could be great for this. At the end of the day, at this point in our career, like what I want to be is like a good custodian of the community and
Sure.
I want to set it up for success in the future, which means I want to, take out acts that I think, are the future of the community and represent what that future should like look like, which, to me is like a more diverse and like deeply empathetic and like thoughtful, forward thinking community. Like that's what we're looking for. So like we want the bands to fucking rule first and foremost, right?
Sure.
We want them
Yeah.
to put on a hell of a show, but we want them to be reflective of the community that's coming to see them. And so we're always also looking for like more diversity in our bills and trying to platform artists that may not otherwise get a shot.
Yeah, rad. And with the upcoming Oz tour, what was that process like? Because coming to Australia is so far away from you guys. It's a big decision. How did you guys go about picking those artists?
So Joyce Manor is one of those bands that like that would have been a moonshot for me. Like I love that band, and that's like I think every artist probably maybe this isn't true. Maybe this is only true of me, but like I just assume that no other band likes my band and no one thinks that our songs are cool and no one would ever want to go on tour with us, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so like I would have never had the guts to ask Joyce Manor, right? It's like one of the coolest bands in the world to me. But the company that's putting the tour on luckily asked them for me. So they came back and said,
Great.
"Hey, what do you think about Joyce Manor?" I'm like, "If they'll do it." And it's like, "Yeah, they already agreed." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Do they know we're on it?"
Yeah, they know
Um,
it's with us, right?
yeah. And then like, dude, it's hard to find um, you know, a support acts in other countries. And we just said to the promotion company, like, dude, send us a ton of things that you think are great.
Cool.
And we want to comb through it. And I remember as soon as I put on Susie, I was like, yo, this is it. Like man, I wish I remember the name of the song right now, but I'm just gonna look it up because
Yeah,
right, you
please
can
do.
edit this. This
I
isn't
won't,
live.
but it's fine. We'll just ramble over the top while you're looking
I
for it.
would just ramble right through it.
If you're trying
Um,
to make me do more work, good luck, friend. No, I think you're absolutely right, and that's a cool thing that being in the position you're in is that having the opportunity to showcase something that people don't always have, and that's my one of my favorite things is when you get a lineup of bands like. Obviously, you got you guys, people come to see you, and having Joyce Manor is a big pull. But having that other element is really important that not every tour gets. If you get everyone knows all the bands on it, there's no discovery factor, which I think is such a cool part of live music. Is seeing a band for the first time, being like, "Fuck, man, that was like, I'm in." They sold me instantly on that.
yeah, like that was special, and that's gonna. The
Yeah,
song was everyone I've met hates me. By Susie.
that's
Great
part
tune.
of your story. Yeah,
Anyway, yeah, I mean that was how we kind of built our band, right? Like I always felt like my job, you know, we're not good at, or we don't have the personality to be like social media stars, right? Like we're not. I mean, I
sure.
just talked to you about math for the beginning of a podcast interview, right? It's like not exciting.
You know what?
Um,
I'm gonna just straight up disagree with you there. I think the way the world
okay,
is going, there's like the niche personality types that are authentically themselves. There's an audience for that because people want to know that you're a nerd too. They want to relate to people.
okay,
I don't think it needs to be all like shiny and glamorous. I think there's like something very authentic and real about you guys, and that's why you've got the fan base you do. That's why you've been able to
yeah.
headline tours for as long as you can. I think there's something there. You're just not giving yourself credit for it.
I appreciate that. I guess what I mean to say is I always felt like the best way to sell our band to people was to get on stage and put on a show they weren't going to forget. If I just always felt like if we, whenever we had a chance on a support tour, like my goal is to walk on that stage. And if you never heard us before, you want to walk out of there going, I got to go check out that song. Like I got to go
Yeah,
check out one of the records. Um, and like that's always been helped along by our fans in the crowd who are like, I feel like their excitement is so like kinetic and so infectious. And like, you just see it and go like, fuck, I want to be a part of that.
sure.
Like that really seems like it's cool. That seems like a cool community. Like all those people seem nice and they're all so stoked and like that's what I want to be a part of. And we just want to kind of, you know, that so like giving other bands a chance to go do that now at our shows. Like, and I think the other
Yeah,
thing is like we've managed to curate, you know, this like I would say by a massive majority, really sweet fans, really kind people. Like I can't tell you how many people open up for us or for my other band or for me solo who walk out going like, I can't believe how nice that crowd was. Like they
that's a
were
great
so
thing. Yeah,
cool.
and that's reflective on
They
you.
were, yeah, they were so receptive and like it's the same. Like we even have venues be like, "Yo, we've never had a crowd that considerate. They cleaned up after themselves." Um, you know, so it's like I think that we built this really cool community full of like-minded people, and I think like getting giving new, young, developing artists a chance to play in front of those specifically those people is really fucking awesome.
Yeah, okay. That's I again. I'm just gonna put it back to you guys. I think it's all reflective of who you are as people. Maybe you're not giving yourself credit because you just like we just want to put on a good show, but there's obviously a factor there because you can love the music of a band, but if they're assholes, you're not going to support that band. So I think there's a huge part of that comes down to. I know compliments are really hard to take, but just bear with me on this one.
No, but I think in a certain way you're right. I think that things that we do, like you know, we have it written into our deals that like there needs to be gender neutral bathrooms available on site. We have it in our deals that like if it's Ramadan, fans that are celebrating Ramadan can bring in food to break fast, with them at the shows. Like we have those kinds of things built into the show just to try to make them more inclusive. And I think that like when you do things like that, it reverberates back through the audience. And I think that's why we do have such a kind of like cool, kind, like fan base that like wants to bring everybody in.
How did you go about like creating that list of things to include as many people as possible? Because that's like the Ramadan thing, like that's something that I would say 95% of bands would have ever even considered before, is the fact that
Um,
during that time they need to eat. Like, is that just like experience over time? People being like, oh, I wish I could do this, but I need to eat. So you write the note down.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
That started from a friend of ours, Kat, um, tweeting about sneaking a peanut butter and jelly sandwich into a show inside of her hijab. And I was like, what if she didn't have to do that? Right. And so like, and some venues, I remember when we first started doing it, some venues were like, hey, we can't do that because we have a kitchen here. And I was like, well, what if they can't afford your food? Or what if they're allergic to it or whatever?
Yeah.
And like, why can't we just let them bring in a small thing? And even some of the venues that were like, yo, we just can't, legal reasons or whatever. We were like, okay, well then we're gonna have Cliff Bars merch. You can't stop us from giving out Cliff Bars. So just like
Yeah.
shit like that, like, or we've heard from fans like, hey, like, you know, light shows, I'm sensitive to certain light shows. It's like, okay, well, we can't play with the house lights on, but we can find somewhere where, so we started doing a thing where like one, we cut all strobing fixtures from our shows. So if we're on stage, if we have our LD, there's no chance there's strobes. If it's a house LD, at least know we've told them multiple times not to use the strobes.
Yeah, okay.
And then we try to have, before a show or before a tour, if we can, it's not always possible, but if there's a tour we're going on, we always try to have the light show sent to this nonprofit here called Lead DIY. Um, and they view the show and then they give it a rating. And then we can tell people before the show, this is rated X for light sensitivity so that they know what to, there's
Respect, yeah.
a person named Cassie Wilson, who started a nonprofit called Half Access, which is unfortunately shuttered for the time being. And I'm hoping they bring it back. But Cassie's big thing that she always told me was like, listen, I understand that not every venue is fully accessible, right? Like there are people who are differently able. They're not always going to be able to go to the show. Some of those rooms were built 100 years ago. They're
Yeah.
just going to have stairs, and that fucking sucks. What's worse is when I don't know that and I bought a ticket and I got excited and I waited in line and then I found out I couldn't go into the show. That's the worst feeling. So we said, okay, well, you know what? Let's go to all the venues we're going to play and ask for their accessibility information and make it available. And so now we've noticed that most venues, when we ask now, we go, oh, yeah, it's already on the internet. Because
Yeah,
like a
cool.
bunch of bands started doing that kind of shit, and that makes it possible for fans to know beforehand. So just like chipping away at it, little things to chip away at it.
Have you ever had any negative experiences from something where you've had it happen at the time and you've seen firsthand being like, well, fuck, we could have avoided that, and that's led to something like that? Or is it more the post someone comes up being like, this would have been nice?
We had someone who was affected by strobes before, and we just said, okay, well, we're never doing that again.
Yeah.
Um, it's things that we saw someone overdose at a show, and now our front of house engineer always has Narcan at front of house, so that we're always available. Just like we just try.
Yeah.
As the thing is, you're never going to get it all the way right. You just try to be better about it.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really cool thing, though. And I don't think that gets discussed enough. You are the first person to ever bring that up in an interview. Is that sort of like accessibility
No,
and
and I
safety factor?
actually sometimes I almost never talk about it in interviews, and I almost forgot how we got onto it here. Because we were talking about the crowd, and I was like, well, but
Sure.
I think I generally try not to talk about it because like I don't want we're not doing it so that it's like spoken about well in the press, right?
I
Like
don't
we've
think
been doing a
that's,
lot of this stuff for years,
it doesn't come
and
across that way.
we just try to keep it quiet. Well, even if it doesn't cross, even if in the interview it doesn't, like if it gets clipped or aggregated or whatever, I'm always worried that it's going to start coming across like disingenuous somehow, some way. And,
I think that
it's just,
even if it does, honestly, you're doing something that is entirely helpful and beneficial to others. You don't get any reward out of that. There's no comeback where it's like, yeah, we spent extra money to make this thing. How good's that? We lost money on this. Like, you're doing things
Yeah.
that's helping the community. You can't crop that in a way to make it negative. I think even if it does get cropped, it's still something that people can take away with. Kudos. I think that's fucking sick. And I'm going to reference that.
You know where
Dan did it. It's very cool.
You know where the PTSD on this came from? Do you know who Howard Stern is? Did he make it to Australia?
Yeah, I know Howard Stern.
So when our band was kind of first starting out, or first like gaining popularity, there was the giant earthquake and tsunami in Japan.
Yeah.
And we did a benefit comp for it just to raise money to send to like, just general charities over there that needed help and needed funds. And somehow it got brought up on Howard Stern, and then he made fun of me for it and was like, oh, these guys are just doing it because they want the press from it. And then they made fun of my name. And I was like, God damn, it's hard that was my first feeling of like, wow, it's fucking hard to be in the public eye. Like you try to do a nice thing, and then like this like fucking major radio show jock motherfucker makes fun of you for it.
No good deed goes unpunished, they say. But yeah, that's, you know what, that shit. Okay, let's talk about exposure through different avenues, because I was looking up before the timeline of you doing a Taylor Swift cover in 2019 of All Too Well.
Yeah.
When that got re-released, whenever that was, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, did you see an influx or any traction come from that song going back into prominence in the way it did? I'm always really interested in the Taylor Swift like sphere of influence, because one, I think you fucking crushed the cover. It's a great cover. That's a great song, much. And you did a good job. Did you see any like flow-on effect from her popularity at all there?
A little bit. I mean, I think that I don't know if we gained or if I gained fans from it, but I think our fans or my fans love it. Love that cover. Like,
sure, okay, yeah.
I did it. It was for a band from Boston called Future Teens, who actually play on that song. They are the backing band for the song. I'm playing acoustic guitar and singing. They're doing everything else, all the drums, all the electric stuff. So they do this comp every year called Something Merry, and they do a different series of covers, and they give the money to charity every year for Christmas. And they asked me to do it, and I was like, oh man, you know what? I fucking love that song All Too Well. Like we're doing Red by Taylor Swift. I'm like, can I have All Too Well? And I was like, I just thought that was such
the best choice. So
it was like, it's such a gorgeous song, like real like Joni Mitchell worship, like phenomenal songwriting. And I asked if I could do it, and they said yes, and we recorded it and released it, and people liked it, and then I forgot about it. And then some fans were like, hey, can you please put that on Spotify? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Why not? Right. And it's like on my like solo Spotify, which has very little on it. It's like that, a full length I did during the pandemic to stop myself from going insane.
Yeah.
And a split EP with the singer of Early November, where all the songs are about Friday Night Lights, the TV show. So like, it's a weird profile to exist, but that song is like by far the most listened to on there and has like, millions of listens. So I can't say that like it like made the band bigger or anything, but I can say that people love it, which is cool. Always cool to make something people like.
I'm one of them. I think that's I was super impressed. I think it's something that out of the wheelhouse too. Taylor Swift's punk. I'm sure she likes numbers too.
I'll tell you what, she's a phenomenal fucking lyricist and a great songwriter.
Who else influences you outside of your sphere? Because that's a thing that I think a lot of people probably misconceive in the world of like punk, hardcore, metal, whatever, is that everyone just listens to the genre they're in, whereas it tends to be quite the opposite of that. Who influences you outside of your sphere?
Lately, or like in what made me the songwriter I
am? Dealer's choice.
I'll go with the latter first, then I'll shout out some lately things that I've been listening to. But I think for me, like the first music that I listened to that was mine, where I, it wasn't because my parents were listening to it, it's because I heard it and loved it and like got the cassette tape of it, was Boyz II Men, right? Like we're Philly people, and I loved pop. I loved pop songwriting. And I loved that stuff all the way through like elementary school. And then when I got into middle school, I started going to hardcore shows and I was like obsessed with the energy of it. I just, there to me, there was nothing cooler in the world than like the kinetic energy of a hardcore show in a VFW.
Sure.
Um, I remember being like, truly blown away by it and wanting that energy. And so it was around that, probably around that time where I was after the energy of hardcore, but like the melodic sensibilities of pop music. And that's when I kind of fell into like pop punk and emo. And
Yeah, sure.
like everyone else, I heard Blink 182 and was like, oh, wait, you can play fast with guitars, but the melody can be catchy. And from there, kind of spun into, more of like this Blink 182 to MXPX to the Get Up Kids and so on and so forth. But even then, like I remember thinking like I wanted something else from the lyrics than I was getting. And like probably a year or two later, I stumbled into like the full like Saddle Creek world. Like I was in a record store in New Jersey and I told the guy I liked emo, I'm like probably 15. And this like older record store guy's like, oh, then check this out. And it was Letting Off the Happiness by Bright Eyes. And I started to fall in love with this kind of like more nuanced, like poetic, like narrative based songwriting.
Yeah.
There was like, Bright Eyes and Cursive and Rilo Kiley. Um, and I think that kind of is like those three things coalescing are what built what we're looking for or what I drive for the Wonder Years, right? Like the pop sensibility of a pop hook, the energy of a hardcore band, the introspective lyricism of like the Saddle Creek era. And then as I kept kind of developing, like it was the Hold Steady and it was the Mountain Goats and more of these kind of really heavy literary like narrative songwriters that really kind of like are that I am really attracted to. That's kind of my favorite stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And then lately that's been like, Lucy Dacus. Craig Finn from the Hold Steady has a new single out that I've been listening to nonstop for the last couple of days.
I haven't heard that.
Samia. I'm really into the Samia stuff, and she's got a new record coming out. And then like there's just so many fucking cool young bands. Like that band Anxious, I think is so fucking awesome.
Dude, that their newest album I cannot wait for. So excited.
It's really, really good. And like I I think that last Spanish Love Songs record was like unbelievable. No Joy. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
Man, that maybe it kind of jumped right into my like all-timers list.
Love
yeah, so that's the kind of stuff I've been I've been listening to like recently. Did that answer it?
It does answer it. And I have one final question, and that's maybe something you can't talk about, but when are we getting new music from you? Because it's been a few years. We're overdue.
Yeah. Well, can I ask you when this is going to air?
When do you want it to air?
Well, just if it's after next Tuesday, then we're going to have a new song out.
Great. After next Tuesday, it is.
So we do this series called Burst and Decay, and it's kind of about like deconstructing and rethinking our songs in like we kind of reimagining them in like a softer light. They're not always acoustic, but they're usually acoustic driven. Sometimes they're piano driven. And we have done 2 EPs of that and a live EP. So this is the 3rd studio iteration of Burst and Decay, where we kind of try to look at our songs a different way. And then for the first time ever, this one has a new song on it, like a song written just for the EP. So that is kind of the first new release for us in a while. But this is like the week that I set aside to like enter album mode. If that makes sense. Like I have like, this is my little green notebook. I fill it with like little lyrical thoughts. Like sometimes I'll sit around and read poetry and be like, that's a cool word. And I'll just write the word down. Like sometimes it literally like, let me find one. This just says game show lights. I don't know. Maybe it'll end up on the next record, right?
There's a little Easter egg for anyone watching this.
So my kind of first step in writing a record is like collecting every idea that falls out of my head. And like I don't always know what they mean or how they're related to other ideas, but I kind of spit them all out. And so this week has been me organizing those ideas and like color coding them
Cool.
and trying to figure out which ones fit together. Um, so I'm at the very, very, very beginning stages of trying to write songs. And basically, what we'll do is for the next couple of months, probably, I'll write songs by myself in this room. Nick will write some songs by himself in his living room. Matt will write some songs by himself in his basement. Everyone in the band will kind of go and develop ideas. And no one's ever going to have a full song. Like no
And
one's
you
going to
bring
show
them
up and be
together
like,
and
this is
collaborate.
it, start to finish. Here's your sheet music. But yeah, then we kind of we'll do that, the Burst and Decay tour. We'll do Australia, we'll do Burst and Decay. And then we will get together in a room and be like, here are all the ideas I've built up.
Hell yeah.
Let's make a record out of it.
Well, that's music to my ears. I'm so excited, and we're so excited to have you in Oz very soon, my man. So we'll get some hang time there. I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to the tour. I think, man, it's been since 2018, I
Seven
think.
years, 7 years you've been avoiding us. I wasn't going to rub it in, but you've made me feel
Oh,
personal.
avoiding is a hard one because we were all ready to come. We had flights booked, we had everything booked, and
COVID.
then a festival we were going to play got canceled.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Um,
going to give you the benefit of the doubt on that
and
one.
then I think that one was even post COVID. I think well, it was kind of like the like people weren't ready to come back yet.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like there was a pandemic, and then there was a festival that got canceled, and we have been. I think it's just like it's not easy for a promotion company to take a bet on a band from across the world and say like,
Well,
I think that this is going to work, and somebody finally took the bet. So
I'm glad they have.
uh,
I'll put money on you for
now
sure.
we just gotta deliver. That's on us now, right? It's up to us to come out and put on fucking shows that we have a standard, and we're trying to meet it every night, meet or surpass it. We're trying to
No
put on a
pressure.
show every night that's gonna. We just like I think a lot about this as a privilege and about like how insane it is that people want to see us do this after all these years
Hell yeah.
and that they're willing to part with like their fucking hard-earned money that they could spend anywhere else and they're like such limited time on this fucking planet to come see us perform. And so like my standard for myself is very high. Like we're going to fucking deliver night after night no matter what's happening. I think the last time we were in Australia, or maybe two times ago, the last number we played the hottest show I played in my whole life
Yeah,
um,
welcome to Australia.
in Melbourne. The air conditioning wasn't working in the venue yet, and I like just really fucked up hot, like a barely survivable kind of thing. I remember laying on the ground to try to get air because I was like, there's no air up here. Just like sitting on the ground. Um, I think the time before that we were over and I had like a migraine in Sydney and we just like got to sing through the migraine. Like it's just like
Oh,
the people are
yeah.
here for you. It's time to deliver no matter what the circumstances.
Well, I hope this time is cool and headache free and just a pleasurable
God,
experience for
please.
everyone.
Thank you. I've done some work on the migraines. I think it was blood pressure related.
Okay,
So
you can fix that.
I think it's under control now. I haven't had one in like 6 months.
Fingers across. I'm keeping everything crossed for you, dude.
Thank you so much.
Man, I better let you go. You've got more interviews to get to, but we're pumped to have you out here. Thanks for taking the time to hang. And
Yeah,
Johnny and I will both be at the show to come and hang and enjoy the experience.
that's awesome. I'm sorry if this was the most boring podcast interview in the world.
No, it's the ones where it just rolls seamlessly and you don't want to stop. They're the best kind. I don't care if anyone listens. I had a good time, and that's all it's about.
Hell yeah. Before we go, you want to just like flex real quick?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I can. Yeah, there's a.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
That's the first time anyone's ever actually indulged that, and Johnny's gonna hate it. So
I think that rules, dude. Feel good about yourself. That's awesome.
thank you. I appreciate you.
All right. I'll
All
talk to
right,
you.
brother. Thanks, Dan.